The way you think determines what you achieve. Not by luck, not by chance, but by law. This isn't just a poetic notion or a comforting idea, it is one of the most exact and unfailing principles that governs the course of human life. Think poorly, expect poorly, and you will receive in exact accordance with the quality of that thought. Think clearly, boldly, and with purpose, and you will set into motion events, people, and resources to shape a destiny you have chosen. You are not the victim of your circumstances, you are the product of your dominant thoughts. What you think about consistently, you move toward. What you believe deeply, you begin to attract. And what you imagine vividly, you start to become. This is not new knowledge. The greatest teachers of all time, from Marcus Aurelius to Jesus of Nazareth, have spoken this truth in different tongues. But the reason it still sounds so radical today is because only a small percentage of people ever accept it, and fewer still apply it. Now let me ask you something very simple. Have you ever stopped to truly examine the quality of your thinking? Not the thoughts that occasionally drift by, but the thoughts you entertain daily, the ones you revisit, nurture, and carry with you into every situation. Because the truth is this: most people don't think. They react, they drift, they echo the noise around them. But to think, truly think, to sit with an idea and let it shape your actions, that is a rare skill. And yet it's the key to everything you want. Every result you desire begins first in your mind. Whether it's building a fortune, finding peace, developing character, or becoming a master in your field, it all begins with thought. And this isn't just theoretical, it's mechanical, it's repeatable, it's universal. That's why I want to invite you right now to commit to this path of clear thinking, strong direction, and mental mastery. And if you're finding this message useful, if this is something you want to carry with you daily, then take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with someone else who's ready to take control of their life. You see, the most astonishing thing about the human being is not their intelligence or even their spirit, it's their power to choose their thoughts. Animals cannot do this. Machines cannot do this. But you can. You can observe your thoughts, you can direct them, you can decide to reject those that weaken you and adopt those that strengthen you. The moment you begin doing this intentionally, everything changes. You start to see that life isn't something that happens to you, it's something you project, interpret, and participate in. Your reality becomes a reflection of your inner world. If you want to change your outcomes, change your thoughts. But beware, the crowd will not tell you this. The world will not remind you of this. You must hold this truth like a compass, fixed and unwavering through calm seas and storms alike. Because if you let go of it, you return to drift, and the drifter never arrives at the destination he dreams of. One of the greatest discoveries of all time is this: we become what we think about. I will repeat it until it becomes a part of your mental bloodstream. We become what we think about. This is not just a nice phrase to remember, it is a precision instrument, a tool, a law, the law of mental causation. Everything that exists in your life, your habits, your income, your relationships, your peace of mind, is the harvest of thoughts you have sown. You may not like the crop you've harvested so far. That's fine, because you can start planting new seeds today. Thought is the seed, action is the growth, habit is the root system, and your results are the fruit. Most people try to change the fruit without ever examining the seed. They attempt to shift the outcome without shifting the origin. That's why change never lasts for them. But once you understand the cause, you'll no longer be fooled by effects. You'll work at the level where real power lies. This is the difference between the 5% and the 95%. The 5% know what they want and think about it daily. They cultivate their minds like gardens. They do not allow weeds to grow unchecked. They do not allow fear to run rampant. They know that to think is to create, that to direct the mind is to direct life. The 95, by contrast, live passively. They consume thoughts instead of crafting them. They echo society rather than shape it. And they wonder why their lives feel like someone else's dream. You are not meant for that. You are not meant to live by default. You are meant to live by design. And that design begins with one thing: the thought that you choose to hold as dominant. Choose it well, because it will sculpt you. Hold it long enough and you will become it. This brings us to one of the most profound laws you will ever learn. Your mind will become your servant or your master, depending on who you let drive. A man who does not rule his mind is ruled by it. A man who does not discipline his thoughts will be at the mercy of whatever mood, opinion, or fear drifts by. But the man who disciplines his thinking will shape a life of clarity and achievement. The mind is like a horse, powerful, fast, and wild by nature. But left untrained, it will throw you off and run you in circles. Train it, and it will carry you to greatness. Every one of us is given this same power, but not every one of us chooses to use it. That is the difference between mediocrity and mastery. You must choose to master your thinking, or you will be mastered by it. Every day, you are given thousands of moments to think. Some people use those moments to worry. Some use them to complain. Some use them to relive mistakes and resentments. But the wise, they use those moments to affirm, to visualize, to plan, to reflect, to give thanks, and to move forward. This is the hidden life of the high achiever, the internal dialogue you don't see but that writes the script for everything you do see. And the beauty of this is that it is available to anyone. Anyone can begin to direct their thinking. Anyone can write their goal on a card and read it morning and night. Anyone can hold a powerful image of their future and make it their emotional home. But only those who do, only those who discipline the mind will reap the rewards. So I want to challenge you now. For the rest of today and into tomorrow, I want you to observe your thinking. Not judge it, just observe it. What do you repeat to yourself in quiet moments? What do you dwell on when you're alone? Are your thoughts aligned with where you want to go? Or are they pulling you off course, one fearful whisper at a time? Because if your dominant thoughts are negative, anxious, confused, or unfocused, they will manifest results to match. But if your dominant thoughts are clear, bold, disciplined, and anchored in faith, then success is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. The law is simple. You become what you think about. So I ask you, what are you thinking about? Let us seal this first step with a declaration, a statement of alignment. If this law resonates with you, if you are ready to think deliberately and shape your life at the level of cause, I want you to comment it below. Say it with me now. I am aware, I am focused, I am thinking my life into existence. Let it be your compass this week, and I'll see you in the next part. The mind is the gateway. It's the starting point of every decision, every belief, and every breakthrough you will ever experience. And yet, very few people stop to examine how it works. You see, the mind does not care what you plant in it, success or failure, abundance or limitation, fear or confidence. It is neutral in this way. It will return whatever you sow, in whatever quantity you nourish. Just like fertile soil, it responds not to intention but to input. If you plant weeds, it will grow weeds. If you plant flowers, it will grow flowers. Most people don't fail because of what they lack. They fail because of what they allow. They allow their minds to be filled with garbage. They allow news headlines, angry neighbors, bitter coworkers, and social media to supply the seed. And then they wonder why they feel confused, disheartened, or lost. But you are not most people. You are beginning to see what the 5% have always understood, that if you want a powerful life, you must start with powerful thoughts. The law is this: your external results will always match your internal climate. If your thoughts are scattered, so too will be your life. If your beliefs are weak, your efforts will be timid. And if your mind is full of doubt, every opportunity will appear as a threat. But if your thoughts are clear, strong, and rooted in faith, then your words become sharper, your actions more decisive, and your presence more magnetic. People will begin to sense something different in you. They may not be able to name it, but they'll feel it. It's the calm assurance of a person who has taken ownership of his mind. This doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you never let fear run the show. You override it, you redirect it. You choose to feed the vision, not the worry. And this discipline, this mastery, is what separates those who drift from those who rise. Let me offer you an image. Imagine your mind as a workshop. Now in that workshop there are two workers, faith and fear. Both are waiting for instruction. Both are excellent craftsmen. But they do not get along. You can only give one of them the blueprint. If you hand the blueprint to faith, he will build bridges, ladders, and cathedrals. He will open doors and light the way. But if you hand the same tools to fear, he will build cages, barriers, and excuses. He will shut doors and dim the light. Most people hand their plans to fear without realizing it. They assume their limitations are facts. They confuse safety with truth. And as a result, they remain in the same place year after year, circling the same problems, haunted by the same doubts. You cannot allow this. You must choose the foreman of your mind. And every day, you must feed that worker the blueprint of your desire. Now, how do we begin to shift from fear to faith? It starts with awareness. You must become a guardian at the gate of your mind. Thoughts will come, but you must decide which ones to welcome and which ones to send away. Just because a thought appears does not mean it deserves your attention. You have the right to reject any thought that does not serve your vision. You have the right to replace it with something better. A better picture, a better story, a better outcome. This is not delusion. This is discipline. Because every master of achievement, every builder of empires, every healer of nations, every inventor and leader, they all began with one thing, a picture in their mind that was stronger than their current reality. They lived from the vision, not just toward it. And so must you. There's a simple phrase that I want you to remember, and if it speaks to you, I'd like you to write it down. I am the thinker, not the thought. Say it again. Let it echo in your mind. I am the thinker, not the thought. This separates you from the chaos. It returns power to your hands, because the moment you identify with the thought, especially one of fear or doubt, you lose the ability to shape it. You begin to serve it. But when you remember that the thought is simply a suggestion, a whisper, a draft, you regain command. You can choose a better one, a stronger one, and you can repeat it until it hardens into belief. This is how faith is built. This is how confidence is installed. Not through magic, not through luck, but through chosen thought, repeated and reinforced until it becomes your default. Now let's talk about goals, because thinking without direction is like a ship without a rudder. You may be full of energy, you may even be full of ideas, but without a clear destination, that energy dissipates. That power goes unused. So I want you to choose a goal, not a vague hope, not a someday wish, but a clear, definite, single-pointed aim. And I want you to write it down, not in your head, on paper. Because a goal that is not written is not a goal, it's a wish. It lacks structure. It lacks accountability. The simple act of writing your goal gives it roots. It begins to exist outside of you. It becomes something you can build around. And once it's written, I want you to carry it with you. In your wallet, in your pocket, near your bed. Read it morning and night. Let it shape the atmosphere of your day. As you begin to think in alignment with your goal, something extraordinary will happen. You'll start to notice opportunities that were previously invisible. You'll begin to feel pulled forward rather than pushed. You'll meet people and encounter situations that feel almost too coincidental. But they are not coincidences. They are the natural effect of a mind that is tuned, focused, and expectant. This is not theory. This is law. You attract what you think about most, not just emotionally, but practically. Because your actions begin to shift, your words become more powerful, your habits more precise, and your life begins to reflect the clarity of your thinking. This is why vague thinking leads to vague living, but clear thinking leads to clarity of life. Some may say, but I don't know how it will happen, and to that I say, you don't need to. The how is not your job. Your job is the what. Your job is the vision, the direction, the frequency. Once that is set, the how begins to emerge. Like a fog lifting from a mountain trail, the next step becomes visible only after you take the first. This is where faith comes in. Faith that what you think about consistently will begin to take form. Faith that if you keep planting, you will eventually reap. Not by chance, not by hoping, but by law. The law of cause and effect. The law that says what you feed with energy, emotion, and repetition becomes real. This is not a superstition. This is your birthright. And so I leave you with this today. Begin to think like the person you intend to become. Begin to walk through the day as if your goal were already real. Begin to speak, act, and choose from the place you're going, not the place you've been. Because the way you think determines what you achieve. And the sooner you begin to align your thoughts with your destiny, the sooner that destiny begins to shape itself around you. This is a quiet process, a private process, but it is also the most powerful one you will ever undertake. So begin today. Begin now. Plant the seed. Feed it daily. And let the law do the rest. What most people never realize is that they are rehearsing failure every single day, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The thoughts they dwell on, the images they entertain, the doubts they replay like a broken record, these become the practice grounds of their destiny. They rehearse limitation and then wonder why they feel limited. They visualize loss and then feel surprised when things slip through their fingers. But the truth is, no one escapes the law. We become what we think about. Every single day, every single moment, we are casting votes for the person we are becoming. And if your votes are going toward fear, insecurity, distraction, or doubt, then no amount of surface-level effort will produce long-term success. The only way to change the results is to change the root. And the root is thought, always. Now let me tell you something most have forgotten. The imagination is not just a tool for artists or children. It is the sacred engine of your reality. It is the divine projector that shapes the film of your life. If you can imagine it clearly and repeatedly with feeling, with belief, then life begins to conform to that image. Not because you've tricked the world, but because you've retrained yourself to operate on a higher level of clarity and expectation. The imagination, when used deliberately, is the most powerful faculty you possess. And yet most use it against themselves. They imagine what could go wrong. They imagine rejection, betrayal, failure. They animate these fears with detail and emotion, and then wonder why they feel stuck. But what if you reversed it? What if for just 30 days you used your imagination to build instead of break, to sculpt rather than scatter? That's the practice. That's the key. Each morning, before the noise of the world invades your awareness, sit quietly, close your eyes, breathe, and begin to imagine your life not as it is, but as it can be. See yourself walking with confidence, speaking with power, choosing with clarity. Picture the home, the relationships, the career, the freedom. Picture the details. Where are you? What does it feel like? Who is with you? What do you see? Then feel it, not as a fantasy, but as a preview, a rehearsal, a spiritual blueprint. Stay there for a few minutes, 5, 10, maybe 15. And when you rise, carry that image with you into the day. Let it influence how you move, how you speak, what you tolerate, and what you pursue. You are no longer reacting to the past. You are responding to the future you've chosen. This is not daydreaming. This is deliberate visualization. This is mental conditioning. You are building neurological pathways that make success feel natural rather than foreign. Athletes do it. Leaders do it. Artists, inventors, performers, they all do it. But you don't have to be a celebrity or a CEO to benefit from it. You just have to be willing to practice, willing to believe, willing to create space in your mind for something greater than your current circumstances. Because if you don't define your vision, someone else will. And the moment you let the outside world dictate your inner world, you have surrendered the most powerful advantage you will ever have. Now some will say, but what if I fail? My answer is simple. You already are. If you're not training your mind. Because the mind left untrained will always drift toward fear. That is its default. That is its defense. The brain was built to keep you safe, not successful. And safety will always choose the known over the possible. It will choose the familiar over the fulfilling. So unless you consciously program your thoughts, unless you daily place your mind in the presence of your highest self, you will live below your potential, not because you lack talent, but because you lacked intention. And that, my friend, is the real tragedy. You must become a mental athlete. You must condition yourself to think abundance when others think lack, to see opportunity when others see threat, to imagine progress when others talk only about problems. This is not a matter of arrogance, it is a matter of focus. You have one life, one canvas, and every day you either paint with purpose or let others paint for you. What do you want your life to look like? 1 year from now? 5 years from now? 10? Start painting that image now. Not later. Not someday. Now, because the mind you build today will become the life you walk through tomorrow. Now let's take this further. Every time you visualize your ideal life, you must link it to an emotional state. Why? Because thought without emotion is like a spark with no fuel. It fizzles out. But thought infused with emotion becomes fire. It imprints, it lingers, it returns. So when you imagine your success, when you see yourself standing in that place of achievement, I want you to feel what it feels like. What does freedom feel like? What does peace feel like? What does power feel like? Get familiar with those feelings. Make them your emotional home. Because the more familiar they become, the more your mind will seek out circumstances that match them. That's not just psychology. That's chemistry. That's how the human brain works. It's how the soul operates. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. And you become what you practice. So make this your practice. 10 to 15 minutes a day of focused, emotionally infused, crystal clear visualization. Make it the cornerstone of your morning. Let it be the rehearsal before you step onto the stage of the day. Because once you've seen it in your mind, you'll carry yourself differently. You'll speak with more conviction. You'll choose more decisively. You'll move through doubt more quickly. This is what separates the passive from the powerful. This is the edge you've been looking for. It's not in some secret tactic or hidden formula. It's here, right here, in your own mind, waiting to be activated. I want you to write something now. Write it on a card, on your mirror, in your journal. But write it somewhere you'll see it every day. Let this be your affirmation for this part of the journey. I am the architect of my vision. I rehearse my greatness until it becomes my reality. That's it. Simple, powerful, true. Say it out loud if you can. Whisper it if you must. But say it daily. Let it shape the structure of your thinking. Because when you believe that you are the architect, then no setback, no delay, and no detour can destroy you. You will simply adjust, redesign, and build again. That's the power of a trained mind. That's the reward of the practice. There comes a time in every serious person's life when they realize that success is not a matter of luck or charm, but of law. A law as real and as unchanging as gravity. And the moment that realization hits, life begins to shift. Because you are no longer hoping, you are applying. You are no longer waiting, you are working. And what is this law? It is the law of cause and effect. It states that every effect in your life has a cause, and every cause produces an effect. This includes your finances, your relationships, your peace of mind, your energy levels, your success. Nothing happens by accident. Everything you are experiencing today is the result of yesterday's thinking and yesterday's action. It might be hard to accept, but it is the foundation of all progress. Because if you caused it, you can change it. If you planted it, you can replant it. You're not a prisoner of your past. You're a steward of your future. And the law is your ally, not your enemy. Now consider this. Most people don't live by this law. They ignore it. They blame. They make excuses. They look at their results and instead of tracing them back to their own choices, they assign them to luck, timing, or some external force. And in doing so, they cut off their own power. But if you're still here listening to this message, I know one thing about you. You're done with excuses. You're ready to take responsibility. And that's the turning point. That's the moment when a person leaves the 95% and joins the 5% who live deliberately. This is where you begin to work with the law instead of against it. Where you begin to align your habits, your thoughts, your words, and your routines with the vision you wrote down on that card. Every day is now a vote. Every hour a building block. You are sculpting your future, not by accident, but by law. Let me show you how this works. If you read one page of a good book every day, at the end of the year you've read 365 pages. That's a full book. If you save a small portion of your income every week, in a few years you have enough to invest, to build, to expand. If you practice a skill every day for 30 minutes, in 5 years you become world class. These are not motivational phrases. They are mathematical truths, and they work just as powerfully in reverse. If you complain daily, worry constantly, procrastinate regularly, those small choices add up too. And one day you wake up to a life you didn't want, not because of one catastrophic decision, but because of thousands of tiny moments where you ignored the law. But today that changes. Today you align. Today you work with the law. Now here's something that might surprise you. The law doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait until you're motivated. It doesn't bend for your mood. If you put fuel into a fire, it burns. If you don't, it doesn't. Simple. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop hoping you'll wake up inspired. That's not how this works. You act first. You train first. You show up even when it's raining, even when you're tired, even when no one's watching. And the fire grows. The results come. The feelings follow. You don't get energy by doing nothing. You get energy by motion, by engagement, by purpose. This is how the law rewards the disciplined. Not instantly, but inevitably. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, ask yourself one question. What am I planting today? Because that's what you will reap. Let's revisit the one practice we've been building throughout this message, the practice of daily mental conditioning. Each morning you visualize your goal, you see it, you feel it, you walk through the future in your mind until it becomes familiar. But let's add something new today. Let's add gratitude. Why? Because gratitude tunes your mind to abundance. It trains you to see what's working, not just what's lacking. And when you start your day with thanks, not for what you hope to have, but for what you already have, you unlock a higher level of clarity and perspective. So as you visualize your goal, take a moment to appreciate what's already present. Your health, your ability to think, the roof over your head, the people who care about you. Gratitude is not weakness, it's access. It opens your eyes. It resets your focus. It multiplies what you have. And here's the secret. The more thankful you are, the more capable you become. Because a grateful mind is not cluttered with resentment or anxiety. It is clean. It is prepared. It is receptive. And success does not land in a distracted mind. It lands in a ready one. So make this part of your daily ritual. Picture your future. Feel it as real, and then give thanks, not just for what is to come, but for what already is. You'll begin to notice a shift, a lightness, a sense of confidence that doesn't need to be explained. People will see it in your posture, your tone, your eyes, and they'll ask what changed. You don't need to explain it. Just smile, because you'll know. You've been practicing the one habit that rewires everything. Now I want you to go back to your card, the one where you wrote down your goal. And on the back of that card, I want you to write this sentence. Every day, I plant the cause of my future. Every moment is a seed, and I choose them wisely. Write it now. Say it out loud. And if it resonates with you, if it stirs something inside, I want you to type it in the comments below. Let's fill this space with vision and intention. Let's make this more than content. Let's make it a movement. One thought, one practice, one law, applied daily. That's the recipe. That's the edge. That's how you turn a wandering life into a focused, powerful, meaningful one. Success is not about finding some hidden secret. It's about remembering what's always been true. You become what you think about. You attract what you repeatedly dwell on, and you receive what you're willing to act upon. Don't complicate it, don't delay it. Begin today. Begin now. This one practice, visualizing, feeling, acting, giving thanks, repeating. This is the key. It's ancient, it's proven, it's yours. And if you live it, if you really live it, you'll wake up one day surrounded by the very reality you once imagined. Not because it was easy, but because it was inevitable. You obeyed the law, you applied the truth, you trained the mind, and the mind delivered the life. Most people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit. They set goals that are safe, ordinary, and unimpressive because their thinking has been conditioned by fear, past experiences, and the low standards of the crowd. But I want to remind you of something simple and profound. You are not the crowd. You are not here to repeat yesterday. You are not here to blend in. You are here to rise, to lead, to create. And that begins with raising the ceiling of what you believe is possible. The way you think determines what you achieve. And if your thinking is small, your results will always shrink to fit. But when you expand your thinking, when you dare to believe in a vision so big it scares you, something awakens in you. Not just hope, not just emotion, but strategy, clarity, drive, and a force that begins to attract the people, the ideas, and the resources necessary to bring that vision to life. But here's the mistake I see too often. People hear an inspiring message. They nod, they feel the energy, and then they go back to doing the exact same things, thinking the exact same thoughts. Inspiration is a spark, but it is only the beginning. If that spark is not transferred into structure, into daily disciplines, routines, and habits, it fades, and so does your progress. That's why this message is not about getting you excited, it's about getting you aligned. Aligned with a process that compounds, a mindset that repeats, a standard that endures. Because success is not about what you do once, it's about what you do daily. And if your daily thinking is filled with precision, clarity, and belief, your achievements will reflect that. Let me offer you a concept that can change your life if you take it seriously. Decide who you want to become. Then begin to think like that person now. Most people wait to feel confident before acting boldly. They wait for the money before thinking abundantly. They wait for the position before speaking with authority. But the law works in reverse. You must first think like the future version of you. Think like the leader. Think like the expert. Think like the visionary. Then speak like them. Then act like them. And eventually the world will adjust to your frequency. This isn't fake. This is alignment. And it's the foundation of transformation. Because your identity is not fixed. It is sculpted by your repeated thinking and acting. So, who is that version of you? Picture them clearly. How do they carry themselves? How do they speak when they walk into a room? What do they believe about obstacles, about risk, about fear? What thoughts run through their mind when they wake up in the morning? When you have that image clear, start showing up as them now, not tomorrow, not when it's comfortable. Now, that's how you close the gap between who you are and who you're becoming. That's how you collapse time. That's how you take what once felt far away and pull it into the present. The stronger the image, the stronger the pull. That's why the great ones always visualize, not because it's mystical, but because it's mechanical. You train your nervous system, you set your compass, and you begin to walk like the person who already has the result. Here's a mental law to live by. What you mentally rehearse, you emotionally normalize, and eventually physically experience. So ask yourself daily, am I rehearsing failure or success? Am I rehearsing rejection or growth? Am I rehearsing scarcity or abundance? Because your mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's repeated. It simply accepts what you feed it, and over time that becomes your expectation. And expectation is powerful. We move not toward what we desire, but toward what we expect. That's why you must think like a winner, even before the scoreboard reflects it. That's why you must think like a millionaire, even before the bank account confirms it. Not out of delusion, but out of decision. At this point, someone may ask, but what if I fail? And the answer is, of course you will. You will fall short, you will make mistakes, you will have days when doubt knocks louder than clarity. But failure is not final. It is only feedback. It is the training ground for those who refuse to quit. The difference is in how you interpret it. The weak mind sees failure as proof of unworthiness. The trained mind sees failure as a necessary part of refining. One tears down, the other builds up. You must train your mind to respond to failure not with shame, but with curiosity. What did I learn? How can I adapt? What can I do better next time? These questions shift your posture from defeat to development. And that mindset alone will carry you further than most people ever go. Let's talk now about the role of environment. Because while your thinking is sovereign, your surroundings still influence your subconscious. Are you surrounding yourself with people who speak life into your vision? Or people who constantly reinforce your limitations? Are you listening to messages that stir your faith, or those that feed your fear? You can't plant powerful thoughts while watering them with toxic voices. Be intentional. Curate your input. Every voice you allow into your mind is either building your belief or breaking it down. Choose wisely, because your thoughts are sacred, and the temple of your mind must not be defiled by doubt disguised as realism. Now I want to invite you to commit not just emotionally, but practically. Take 1 minute after this message ends. Visualize the version of you you're stepping into. Then write down one decision you can make today that aligns with that person. Maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's deleting a distraction. Maybe it's creating a new morning ritual. Don't overthink it. Just act. Action seals identity. Every aligned step you take reinforces the signal. It tells your brain, this is who we are now. And when that signal is strong enough, your external life will begin to rearrange itself to match your new internal frequency. And now, as we close this part of the message, I want you to declare this with confidence. Write it below if you're ready to step into the next level of your life. Say, I think like the person I'm becoming. I live in alignment. My future is already here. Let that be your new standard. Let it be the rhythm that carries you through every conversation, every challenge, every day. Because when the thinking is elevated, the results follow. There is a kind of quiet power that begins to emerge when you've trained your mind long enough. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's unmistakable. You walk into a room and people can feel it. You speak and your words land differently. You move through your day with a steady rhythm that others can't explain. That power is the byproduct of alignment, of a mind that has been shaped, tested, stretched, and refined. And it all began when you made the decision to think differently, to live deliberately, to act with intention even when no one was watching. You see, mastery doesn't show up in a single event. It reveals itself slowly in your posture, your tone, your habits, your discipline. And eventually, people stop asking what you do. They start asking how you became who you are. By now, you've seen the layers of this mental system stack up. Visualization, journaling, repetition, decision, standards, rehearsal, structure. But now we must address something deeper, something that can either unlock your greatest potential or quietly sabotage it without you ever knowing. That something is self-concept. You will never outperform the identity you hold about yourself. You can have clear goals, powerful routines, external success, but if deep down you see yourself as small, as undeserving, as someone who always almost gets there, you'll unconsciously create situations to prove that belief right. This is the silent war most people are losing. They're building a better life with the hands of a person who still believes they're not enough. But you will not be one of them. Your self-concept is not set in stone. It is programmable, moldable, expandable. And the first step to reshaping it is awareness. Start paying attention to how you speak to yourself, not just out loud, but in your head. Catch the quiet insults, the casual self-deprecation, the way you downplay your victories. That's not humility. That's sabotage. That's a mind unconsciously reinforcing a ceiling. And ceilings are not broken with force. They're broken with truth. The truth is, you are not who you were. You are not defined by your past. You are not measured by other people's limits. You are in every moment becoming the version of yourself you are willing to believe in. So if your thoughts are still stuck in who you used to be, now is the time to update the script. Here's the shift. Stop identifying with your past and start identifying with your potential. Speak from it, move from it, build your routines around it. Say to yourself, I am becoming the kind of person who, and then finish that sentence. I am becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start. I am becoming the kind of person who leads, creates, delivers. This isn't delusion. This is vision applied through identity. And when you repeat it long enough, when you reinforce it with action, the world will catch up. It always does. Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is shaped by the thoughts you rehearse when no one is around. Let's go even further. Your self-concept is reflected in your boundaries. What you allow, what you tolerate, what you accept, all of it stems from how you see yourself. Raise your self-concept and low-frequency conversations disappear. Toxic people stop calling. You no longer explain your ambition because it radiates through your presence. You don't need to force separation. Your new energy becomes a filter, not out of arrogance but out of alignment. Because when you truly begin to value your time, your focus, your peace, you protect it. And protecting it is the greatest sign that your thinking has evolved. Not just in strategy, but in self-respect. And self-respect, when cultivated properly, is a magnet for opportunity. There's a phrase I want to implant into your mind now. Simple but foundational. I only build what I believe I deserve. Let it sink in, because if there's a gap between what you want and what you're creating, the missing link is usually self-concept. You'll never consistently build beyond what you feel worthy of. You may touch it briefly, you may taste it in short bursts, but until your identity catches up, you will find a way to shrink it back down. But not anymore, because now you are no longer just building goals. You are building the you who sustains them, the self who doesn't sabotage progress, the mind that doesn't retreat when things grow. That is what we're shaping now, and when that version of you becomes dominant, everything accelerates. Here's the exercise for today. I want you to write a paragraph not of who you've been, but of who you're becoming. Describe the version of you that walks in confidence, that finishes what they start, that thinks with clarity and speaks with calm. Be detailed, be bold, be honest, and then read it aloud. Every morning, every night. Let it become a new mental map. Because your brain cannot hold two identities at once for long. It will always move toward whichever one you feed. So feed the one that empowers you. Feed the one that builds, serves, creates, leads. Feed the one that leaves no room for mediocrity, because it is simply no longer who you are. We'll close this part with a declaration designed to reinforce everything we've uncovered today. Say it out loud. Write it below. Let it sink deeper than a quote. Let it become your creed. My self-concept is evolving. I think, speak, and act from who I am becoming. Carry that into every room, into every challenge, into every moment where doubt tries to rise. Because doubt can't survive in a mind that knows who it's becoming. And you are becoming unstoppable. There is a kind of quiet power that begins to emerge when you've trained your mind long enough. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's unmistakable. You walk into a room and people can feel it. You speak and your words land differently. You move through your day with a steady rhythm that others can't explain. That power is the byproduct of alignment, of a mind that has been shaped, tested, stretched, and refined. And it all began when you made the decision to think differently, to live deliberately, to act with intention even when no one was watching. You see, mastery doesn't show up in a single event. It reveals itself slowly in your posture, your tone, your habits, your discipline. And eventually, people stop asking what you do. They start asking how you became who you are. By now, you've seen the layers of this mental system stack up. Visualization, journaling, repetition, decision, standards, rehearsal, structure. But now we must address something deeper, something that can either unlock your greatest potential or quietly sabotage it without you ever knowing. That something is self-concept. You will never outperform the identity you hold about yourself. You can have clear goals, powerful routines, external success. But if deep down you see yourself as small, as undeserving, as someone who always almost gets there, you'll unconsciously create situations to prove that belief right. This is the silent war most people are losing. They're building a better life with the hands of a person who still believes they're not enough. But you will not be one of them. Your self-concept is not set in stone. It is programmable, moldable, expandable. And the first step to reshaping it is awareness. Start paying attention to how you speak to yourself, not just out loud, but in your head. Catch the quiet insults, the casual self-deprecation, the way you downplay your victories. That's not humility. That's sabotage. That's a mind unconsciously reinforcing a ceiling. And ceilings are not broken with force. They're broken with truth. The truth is, you are not who you were. You are not defined by your past. You are not measured by other people's limits. You are in every moment becoming the version of yourself you are willing to believe in. So if your thoughts are still stuck in who you used to be, now is the time to update the script. Here's the shift. Stop identifying with your past and start identifying with your potential. Speak from it. Move from it. Build your routines around it. Say to yourself, I am becoming the kind of person who, and then finish that sentence. I am becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start. I am becoming the kind of person who leads, creates, delivers. This isn't delusion. This is vision applied through identity. And when you repeat it long enough, when you reinforce it with action, the world will catch up. It always does. Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is shaped by the thoughts you rehearse when no one is around. Let's go even further. Your self-concept is reflected in your boundaries. What you allow, what you tolerate, what you accept, all of it stems from how you see yourself. Raise your self-concept and low-frequency conversations disappear. Toxic people stop calling. You no longer explain your ambition because it radiates through your presence. You don't need to force separation. Your new energy becomes a filter. Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Because when you truly begin to value your time, your focus, your peace, you protect it. And protecting it is the greatest sign that your thinking has evolved. Not just in strategy, but in self-respect. And self-respect, when cultivated properly, is a magnet for opportunity. There's a phrase I want to implant into your mind now. Simple but foundational. I only build what I believe I deserve. Let it sink in, because if there's a gap between what you want and what you're creating, the missing link is usually self-concept. You'll never consistently build beyond what you feel worthy of. You may touch it briefly, you may taste it in short bursts, but until your identity catches up, you will find a way to shrink it back down. But not anymore, because now you are no longer just building goals. You are building the you who sustains them. The self who doesn't sabotage progress. The mind that doesn't retreat when things grow. That is what we're shaping now. And when that version of you becomes dominant, everything accelerates. Here's the exercise for today. I want you to write a paragraph not of who you've been, but of who you're becoming. Describe the version of you that walks in confidence, that finishes what they start, that thinks with clarity and speaks with calm. Be detailed, be bold, be honest, and then read it aloud. Every morning, every night. Let it become a new mental map. Because your brain cannot hold two identities at once for long. It will always move toward whichever one you feed. So feed the one that empowers you. Feed the one that builds, serves, creates, leads. Feed the one that leaves no room for mediocrity, because it is simply no longer who you are. We'll close this part with a declaration designed to reinforce everything we've uncovered today. Say it out loud. Write it below. Let it sink deeper than a quote. Let it become your creed. My self-concept is evolving. I think, speak, and act from who I am becoming. Carry that into every room, into every challenge, into every moment where doubt tries to rise. Because doubt can't survive in a mind that knows who it's becoming. And you are becoming unstoppable. The final shift we must now make is the shift from thinking to being. Everything you've learned, everything you've practiced, your visualizations, your journaling, your affirmations, your habits, all of it has led you to this point. But the true test of mental mastery is not how clearly you can imagine the life you want, it's how fully you can embody it today. Not someday, not when it's convenient, today. Because the person you want to become isn't waiting for permission. They don't need more time, they don't ask for signs, they've already moved. They live by principle, not pressure, by alignment, not emotion. And when your identity reaches that point, when your thoughts, your habits, your posture, your speech, and your energy all say the same thing, you're ready. You're no longer just thinking differently. You are someone different, and the world begins to mirror it with ruthless consistency. This is the final law I will leave you with, and it is perhaps the most powerful of all. The world does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. Read that again. The universe doesn't answer wishes. It answers frequency. It responds to standards, to certainty, to the energy behind your actions. You can beg for abundance, but if you carry the energy of scarcity, you will repel it. You can ask for peace, but if your daily behavior is chaotic, you will create storms. You can speak of goals, but if your thoughts contradict your words, nothing moves. But when you become the kind of person who aligns every thought, word, and behavior with your vision, life adjusts. People respond. Opportunities multiply. It's not personal. It's principle. It's law. And this is why embodiment matters more than intention. Because embodiment is truth. It cannot be faked. It can be felt. Walk into a room fully aligned, and people notice without knowing why. You don't have to speak loudly. You don't have to sell yourself. Your energy becomes a broadcast. And the people, events, and environments that match your energy start to find you. Not because you chased them, but because you matched them. This is the final stage of mental mastery. Not trying harder, but aligning deeper. Not efforting your way to success, but being success, fully, quietly, unshakably. The outer shifts only when the inner becomes non-negotiable. So ask yourself now in this moment, am I thinking like the person I want to become, or am I being them? There is a difference between knowing and becoming. You can know what to do, you can repeat affirmations, you can study principles, but until you embody the mindset, until you move as the version of you who already lives it, you will stay stuck at the level of theory. And theory is not transformation. Only action is. Only behavior is. Only repetition is. So from this moment forward, stop asking, what would the best version of me do? And start doing it. Wake up earlier. Speak slower. Move with precision. Follow through without delay. Forgive faster. Decide quicker. Hold your standards even when it's uncomfortable. That's how you prove to yourself that the change is real. Not with words, but with witness. With the evidence of your own behavior. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Because embodiment demands integrity. It demands you stop outsourcing responsibility. It asks you to become the person your goals require. No more hiding. No more half efforts. No more performing. Just pure alignment. That is what will separate you. That is what will create gravity around you. Because most people never get here. They stay in the cycle of motivation and relapse, high and low, start and quit. But you are stepping into permanence, into steadiness, into the quiet confidence that comes from living what you say. That is the edge. That is the real advantage. Because when you are what you used to wish for, you no longer chase outcomes, they chase you. Let's now give you a final challenge, one that brings everything together. For the next 30 days, act only in alignment with the version of you you've been building. Not with what's convenient, not with what's emotional, but with what's true. The thoughts you allow, the habits you keep, the language you use, the posture you hold, the emotions you respond to, the decisions you make. Let every moment be filtered through the lens of, is this in alignment with who I am becoming? If yes, proceed. If no, adjust. That's how you lock in the transformation. Not by waiting for the world to notice, but by refusing to break character when no one's watching. And when the 30 days are over, don't stop. Repeat it, and then repeat it again, until it's not a challenge anymore. It's your baseline, your instinct, your norm, until you forget who you used to be, because the new you has become so familiar, so real, so practiced, that anything less feels foreign. That's when the shift is complete. That's when you've crossed over, not just in habits, but in identity, in vibration, in who you are at your core. And once you're there, the laws take over. You no longer have to chase. You attract, not because it's easy, but because it's earned. And what's earned cannot be taken. So now we end where we began, with thought. You've trained it, you've directed it, you've aligned it, and now you live from it. That is the path, that is the process, that is the secret most never discover, not because it's hidden, but because it's too simple, too steady, too repetitive for the chaotic mind. But you chose mastery, you chose structure, you chose to walk a path that few complete, and now, as you move into the next chapter of your life, you carry not just new information, but a new identity, one that's been forged in silence, tested by consistency, and confirmed by every action you now take. Let us close this series with one final declaration. Say it aloud, write it in the comments, let it echo into the life you are now stepping into. I think with clarity, I act with purpose, I am who I decided to become. This is your code now, this is your anchor, and no matter where you go, what you face, or who surrounds you, return to it, speak it, live it, because your mind is no longer a cage, it is a compass, and your future is no longer a fantasy. It is your unfolding reality. Welcome to the life you've been building. It's already here.